Hello, welcome back to episode 2 of Wes Reviews Stuff in a quick fashion, whatever I called the first video. I don't really remember, but this is kind of going to be the same thing. I've got 4 stuff. I've been meaning to do this video for a really long time. Unfortunately, I got sick. I've kind of mentioned it like a million times already, but, I got sick and I couldn't really do it, so I'm trying to do it now. So a lot of this stuff is not as fresh in my mind as I would like it to be, but I got 4 more things to talk about. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. I might change the camera settings real quick. Okay, I changed the sharpness. I don't know if this looks better or not, but there you go. That's what we're gonna do. Okay. So the first thing I want to talk about today, I've got 2 movies again and 2 shows. But I wanted to talk about Avatar 2, The Way of Water. Now, if you don't remember the original release of Avatar, it was kind of a big deal back in the early 2010s, I think, whenever Avatar came out. It might have been the late 2000s. But it was a really hyped film for a couple reasons. For one, it was a film done by James Cameron, who was known for doing Titanic, and I believe also the Terminator movies, I think. But obviously, Titanic at the time was the highest grossing film of all time. It was a film that made more money than any other film ever. So there was a lot of hype behind this movie, I think partially for that reason, but also because, it was touted to be top-of-the-line technology, top-of-the-line CGI, to create not only, fully CGI characters with actors using bodysuits, and then, a fully CGI world with more detail and crisper images than anything. It's trying to sell you on this beautiful world of Pandora. Not only that, it was in the middle of a sort of peak of 3D technology. Every movie at the time, I think, was doing 3D technology. It seems to come back every, couple of decades, I think, or more than a couple decades. 3D seems to come back. I think there was a peak of 3D in the 80s as well, but it just kind of came back for some reason, and people were really into it. So, a bunch of movies were doing 3D at the time. And so it was like, oh, you got to go see it in IMAX 3D. It was a big appeal of Avatar. So that was kind of the hype of Avatar. Now, the movie came out, and at the time, I believe it beat the record for Titanic and became the newest highest grossing movie of all time, which has since been beat out by some of the Marvel movies. I think one of, Infinity War, maybe, I think is the highest now, but a bunch of the Marvel movies are above it. So, that's cool. But at the time, I saw the movie, and, I went and watched it. It was a big event. Everybody was talking about this movie. Like, we gotta go see Avatar. Even my parents wanted to go see Avatar. It was that big a deal. I can't even get my parents. I don't think my parents have watched a single Marvel movie, But it's like, oh, they wanted to go see, this thing that was, hugely hyped. It was, that level of hype, It was, I don't know, more so than a lot of things that a lot of films happening now. I feel like there's not as much excitement about movies as there was even 10 years ago, But I will say, when I saw the movie, I wasn't crazy about it. I thought it was an all right film. I thought, the 3D effects kind of cool, but I mean, it didn't really blow me away. I didn't really, it didn't really stick with me as man, I'm such a big Avatar fan. Man, I can't wait to see more Avatar movies, It's just nah, it's a cool film, and I think I've never seen it since. I watched it once, and never again have I ever seen that movie. And I've never really had much of a desire to return to it. And, the best way I can describe it is that it's kind of just Pocahontas with blue space aliens. Basically just Pocahontas. And it's just not, the characters aren't that interesting. Characters kind of aren't that well developed. You kind of have, the main character is kind of like a meathead idiot who just like does the right thing. He's got a heart of gold. He's a good, he does the right thing. Protects the natives in the beautiful world of Pandora. But a lot of the appeal of Avatar really was in the CGI, and it was in just the world of Pandora. That's kind of like the appeal overall of Avatar, and it's kind of what they've sold. They even have an Avatar theme park, I believe now, where you can visit the world of Pandora. It's like that's kind of what you watch Avatar for, what you have an extended interest in Avatar for. It's just that. And I guess that's fine. So the second Avatar movie is like 3 hours long, and I was first going to say I went to see this on a weekday after work, and boy, did I struggle to stay awake for the entire 3 hours. I think they do a decent job of throwing in a pretty fun action scene every little bit just to sort of avoid that issue, because otherwise I think this film could be described as quite boring. A lot of it almost feels like just a nature documentary, just like look at this cool beach, look at how the water moves. It's look at all this ocean life. And it's like all right, but it's like I'm trying to watch a movie, and I was trying to like watch a nature documentary. It's like this is a different thing. I gotta have different, my attention has to be. I can only watch a nature documentary for like maybe 20 minutes. I don't think I could watch it for much more than that. But it continues the world of Avatar, the story of Avatar. I will say my biggest complaint, I think, is that it's just kind of the same movie again. It feels like they had no reason to bring back the villain from the first one. We're gonna probably get it's not spoilers yet. I'll try not to spoil yet, but we had no reason to bring back the villain from the first one. Just no need for that. It was just kind of like, it's like they just didn't really have much idea for like conflict, except to like, let's bring back the same conflict from the first, but it doesn't even make sense. Because in the first Avatar, they were there for the resources. Like, they were trying to save Earth because they needed this specific resource called unobtainium. I remember, because it was a really stupid name, unobtainium. And they could only get it from Pandora. So they were, like, ruining this planet because they wanted to mine it for resources. And Jake's like, I don't want you to do that. And he stops them. And he kills them. And then in the second one, they come back and they're not even like interested in that. Like, I think there's only a small portion where they set up that there is like some sort of man-made base that's been rebuilt, that people are at, and they're just kind of hanging out there. So there is still some sort of thing that they're trying to do. But the military guys only really come back because they want to get revenge on Jake. But also not even really remembering past a certain point what happened to them. So, I don't know. So that's the sort of manufactured conflict here. And the rest of the movie is just focused on sort of trying to world build and introduce new characters, I think. So the world building is pretty cool. There's a whole new part of Pandora that we focus on, more ocean oriented. We have new Na'vi, I guess they are. They're like ocean Na'vi. They're kind of like green. They're slightish. They're like a lighter blue-ish green color instead of just blue like the Na'vi that live in the jungle. And they're kind of cool. They've got like fins and stuff. And they're cool. And they bond with like these whales that visit every year. And yeah, it seems like they've planned out like a whole like 8 or 9 Avatar movies. It's like they're trying to make a big franchise out of this now, which is weird because Avatar is like not the thing that I would think has the most franchise potential. It's just like an all right movie that just, kind of looks cool. It's style over substance, I think. There's not really that much there, although they're trying to build up something, but it's already 2 movies in, and I'm just not, like, crazy about this world that they've created, Out of all the characters introduced, I'll say, like, 1 or 2 of them I found to be kind of interesting. There's one that's got, like, a lot of mystery to the character, like what exactly her her deal is. She does some really weird stuff that's not like explained at all without being too specific. There's a bunch of stuff she does that's not really explained, and it's like, what is that about? And it's clearly like, oh, we'll find out about that later. So like that character is kind of interesting. I'm like kind of interested to see like what the deal is with that character and what they're trying to like set up here, because she's really weird. They have a younger child character that doesn't really do a whole heck of a lot, gets kidnapped, you know, but I don't know. Like, the characters aren't that emotionally deep. They have another brother. They have a lot of kids. Jake and Neytiri, I believe, is the woman's name. They have several kids now that are new characters, and they also introduce a new jungle Tarzan boy who is a human, and grows up with the Na'vi, so he's able to like climb trees and be really agile and Tarzan-like as well. But a lot of these ideas are just kind of copied and pasted from other things. She's just Tarzan. I don't know. There's not like a lot of stuff that's really like drawing me in or compelling me to like, man, I'm so excited for Avatar 3, It's just like, that was okay. That was fine. That was like really the most I enjoyed about it was the action scenes and the I thought that the water looked really good, especially when they have like the aliens in the water and it's like the CGI in the water, and I'm like, how are they doing this? Like it looks really good. The water effects look really good. Yeah, I don't know. I like the world of Pandora, but they gotta do more. They gotta have a story. They gotta have memorable, deep, compelling characters, and I don't know that we've really gotten to that point yet. So that's what I need out of Avatar 3. I'll probably watch Avatar 3, but like, am I gonna go to the theater for it? I don't really know. It depends on, like, this one took so long to come out, right? It took like years, so it's kind of like got the hype of like a very long-awaited sequel. But like, if they release Avatar 3 next year, it's just not gonna have the same level of hype. It's just gonna be like dependent on how much people actually care about Avatar. And I just don't really think people care that much about Avatar. But maybe they do. I don't know. I think the movie actually did really well in theaters. So maybe people do care about Avatar a lot and they will go see Avatar 3. Or, maybe they're just being tricked into thinking that they really care about this franchise, or that they're supposed to care about this franchise, which sometimes is enough to work. Sometimes that works for people. So you just trick them into thinking this is a really popular thing, and then they start to believe it. The next thing I wanted to talk about is something near and dear and close to my heart, and it's a show called Bleach. Specifically, this is Bleach the 100... Hold on, I gotta look up the subtitle. It's called Bleach 1,000-Year Blood War, and it's a sequel, a continuation of the original anime, which ended, I believe it ended in like 2015-ish. Maybe earlier. Let me look that up. No, sorry, it was much earlier, 2012. I was thinking 2012. I'm like, 2015 sounds way too late. 2012 is apparently when it ended. And partially the reason that Bleach ended was that they had gotten to a point where the manga, they were catching up. They caught up, or they were catching up to the manga, something like that. And they just, like, the manga had just kind of just not had any issues, I think, printed for the longest time. The mangaka stopped writing for a little. He took like an extended break, and they're like, well, we can't continue the anime without the manga if we can't just move past it. I mean, this was back during a time where like this is how anime just worked. Like, this was kind of like Dragon Ball Z originally was the first thing to sort of set this tone of like, an episode every week, a new episode of a show, of an anime, every single week. And it set that trend, and I think some shows continue to, like Pokemon. You have a lot of, like, shows centered around, like, games, like, probably, like, Bakugan, and, like, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and, like, Digimon, and stuff like that was sort of in the same vein of like just an episode every week. That's what you get. And they started to do this with a lot of like Shonen Jump type stuff as well. So like Naruto is doing this. And Full Metal Alchemist, I believe, did this. And some of the shows came up with One Piece. That's a big one. Obviously, One Piece. But here's the problem: is like they would try to do this thing where they would put an episode out every week, but eventually they would get to a point where they just couldn't really. They had to wait for the manga to catch up, and the manga had to get far enough ahead that they could do the next arc. But they would continue to put an episode out every single week. And what these were called, they're called filler episodes. Basically just episodes where the plot doesn't really move forward, but you still get an episode. So this was kind of it's a controversial, I think most people just hate the concept of filler. Most people hated it. Just because it's a lot of the content is hit or miss. Most of it is pointless because it doesn't push the story forward at all. And it's kind of just skippable. It doesn't really have a result, that matters in the grand scheme of things. You could take the episode out, and it wouldn't really change anything at all. So it feels like a lot of them feel like wastes of time, in the grand scheme of things. But it was kind of a problem. Bleach did this as well, because Bleach would have a lot of filler arcs as well. And so at this point, I think they just decided to end the show. Eventually, this sort of fell out of fashion. They stopped doing this. I don't know if Naruto still does this, or Boruto, the Boruto spinoff. But like One Piece might still do this because it's still airing. But it was just kind of a fad. Now people just generally do like 12 episode anime arcs and then they just go on hiatus. It's like 12 episodes and then they're just gone. And you just wait for the next season. It's weird. Because, like, I remember when anime was just, like, it was just runs forever. It's just constantly, you get a new episode every week no matter what. But that, is what it results in getting a lot of garbage. So, yeah, Bleach just ended. It's different from, like, Full Metal Alchemist, which instead just kind of came up with its own ending. And that's why there's two Full Metal Alchemists. There's Full Metal Alchemist and there's Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. The original Full Metal Alchemist is just an ending that the animators, the people that created the original show, just sort of came up with. That's why it just has a really weird ending that just kind of comes out of nowhere. But Brotherhood is the original ending of the manga. So and the problem was the manga just wasn't. They caught up to it and they just couldn't. Just ran out of they were ahead of the manga. So they had to wait for the manga to catch up, but they decided not to and just made an ending instead. So that's where Bleach was. Bleach just kind of stopped. It ended. It stopped being run. And now it's back. Or it was back. In late 2022, they brought Bleach back for a 12-episode series. And holy shit, it was so good, guys. It was so good and so nostalgic for me to, like, return to this anime in the modern day and just watch this like beautiful HD new Bleach episodes, a new Bleach arc, the anime being continued and just kind of continued as if it had never left. It was just incredible. I tried to get as many people to watch this as I could, and unfortunately I think my sister was the only one who watched it. And she was just as excited about it as I was. She's like, "Oh my god, it's so good." I'm like, "I know." It's so good. This is I have to say the only issue is like if you're not familiar with Bleach, which Bleach is like 400 episodes, I think, the original run, you could probably go online and find like a list of Bleach sort of abridged with like somebody's probably out there that's removed all the filler and is like, just watch these episodes, and they'll be like, skip these episodes, and then you could probably just get through Bleach pretty quickly if you wanted to catch up, instead of watching 400 episodes. But yeah, I mean, gosh, it was so good to see the return of these characters and the return of this world. And I was very concerned that when they were going to do this, that it was just going to be like, some sort of inconsequential sort of Elseworld arc, or not Elseworld, but like, I don't know, kind of like a filler arc in sort of the same way that, like, I think what I was imagining was something like how when Adventure Time did like the Distant Worlds thing on HBO. I was kind of thinking it would be maybe something like that, where it was just like just a little extra thing that really didn't like continue the series, but just like it's like an extra additional thing for the fans. That's like, I don't know, just something like that wasn't really gonna matter in the end. But no. They just continue the anime, and it's really good. It was only 12 episodes, which kind of made me sad, because I wanted more. I wanted the series to continue, and these are normal anime length episodes, so they're like 30-ish minutes. They're less than 30 minutes, I think. They're like a little over 20 minutes each. So it doesn't feel like nearly enough. But man. And it didn't even conclude, actually, now that I think about it. It didn't conclude the story. So it's gonna return at some point. I don't know when. But, like, it feels really weird that it just got 12 episodes and then it stopped airing. It's like, well, when's it coming back then? When are they gonna finish it? Like, I can't wait. I need more of this, I'm kind of slightly upset about that. But, I'm hopeful that it comes back soon. And if nothing else I can say about this, if you're a fan of Bleach, absolutely you need to watch this. If you're like me, this will just like, push you more 10 plus years in the past. It'll just like transport you to 10 years ago when you were young, innocent child, just watching Ichigo go on his adventures. It's just it's magical, especially the OP. The opening OP is just like so perfect. Oh, also, they take some of the original tracks from the original series, like ones that I remember specifically. It was really weird to hear them because they remix the tracks and they would use them kind of in the same circumstances, which is really cool. There's the one song that goes bah, bah, my voice cracked when I tried to sing that because it's see if I try to do that, it's really high, but it goes like that, and it's like remixed and they still use it, but it's like kind of remixed. It's really weird. It's weird. But there's several really, really cool sequences in this. I think about halfway is probably one of the cooler episodes. There's a specific fight that's really, really cool. And if you get to the end, the last episode, or the last few episodes, there's a really big revelation. If you're not familiar with the manga, I suppose you probably would already know about it. But if you're not, there's pretty big lore reveals in the end of this series. So, that's all I can really say about it. This is the thing I would recommend the most, I think, out of anything I'm going to talk about today, because I absolutely adore this show. And I'm sad that I want it to come back soon as it can, because it was, it was making me happy that one day a week it's a new Bleach episode. It was like being a kid again. Which brings me to the third thing I want to talk about, which was airing basically at the exact same time, I think, as Bleach, which is a show called Chainsaw Man. And I watched this show almost basically at the same time as Bleach. I definitely did, at the same time as Bleach. And this show, I also really want to recommend. I really want to recommend it. And so I think I will. I really like, more than anything, I like the vibe of the show. I like the feeling that I get. It's kind of this weird laid-back feeling amongst this kind of ridiculous world, this crazy over-the-top ridiculous world, and it's very stylized. The action is just crazy. I mean, the idea of it, as you could probably imagine, Chainsaw Man. Basically, the idea is there's this guy, and he fuses with what I believe is what they call it, a chainsaw devil, I think. To the point where he now has the abilities of this chainsaw devil, and he can turn into a chainsaw man. And it's pretty cool. But it's very dark and at times quite lascivious. You know, but it all really works for me. I mean, I have to say, I loved this show. It started airing on Hulu. I wasn't sure what to think of it. I saw it. I'm like, that's either gonna be, my expectations were that it was gonna be like, maybe like a parody of like a shonen type anime, like in the same vein as like One Punch Man, you know, or it was just gonna be a really like over the top action thing. And it's kind of both. I don't think it's really a parody of shonen anime, but in a way it's kind of ridiculous in its marriage between like the really serious stuff and like its sort of cynicism that it approaches serious topics with. It's a really good show. I don't know what else to say about it. It's good, but again, it's one of those 12 episodes. I just need more of it, to be honest. I need the show to keep going. I need it to be longer. It wasn't enough for me. I need more of it. But it's really good. I highly recommend. It's one of the probably, I don't watch a lot of anime, so it's kind of weird I'm reviewing 2 anime on here. But Chainsaw Man is a really good one. So I'm gonna recommend that one. You know, I hope more people watch it. It's funny and a little bit ecchi at times. But I love the characters and I love the story. I wonder where it's going, and I want more of it. And that's all I have to say about it. The final thing I'm going to talk about, and this one might be interesting. It's a movie called Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. It's a sequel to the original Knives Out, and it stars Daniel Craig as a sort of Hercule Poirot type character, detective character. Less Sherlock Holmes, more Hercule Poirot. Is it Hercule Poirot? Poirot? The Agatha Christie character. He's a guy that solves mysteries. And it's also directed by Rian Johnson, the guy who did probably most famous for destroying Star Wars. I don't know, that's gotta be to say. He's a very famous director, but like a lot, you know, he was the one that did Last Jedi, and it probably is what he's most known for now, unfortunately, which is kind of sad, because he's a good director. So this movie is interesting, because the problem I have with it is that I can't tell. I have troubles like understanding if I liked the movie a lot, if it was really clever, or if it was not clever at all, or if it was really clever because the point of it was how not clever it was. And it's like it's weird. It's like my brain doesn't know what to think, because on the surface, the whole point of this mystery is that it's absolutely not clever. But that's the point, is they're pointing out the fact that it's very simple. I mean, even through, okay, I'm gonna, we're just gonna kind of go into spoilers here, spoiler territory. But that's your basic thing. All right, well, hold on. Let me just try. I'll say that, and then I'll go into spoilers. I'm really bad at like justifying when the spoilers are starting. I'm like, when do I say the spoilers are starting? It's hard to talk about something without spoiling it, I think. But the concept of it is, it's a mystery movie, and I think I would recommend it. I think it's an interesting movie. I think it's a fun watch. But in the end, is it as good as the original Knives Out? I don't think so. I think the original is better. But now I'm going to get into spoiler territory, so if you want, you can just sort of skip to the end, where I will do an outro, so the video is not really over yet. We'll do a summarization after. But basically, the idea of it is that, even in the title, it's called Glass Onion, which the concept of glass onion is it's something that appears to be complex on the surface, but you can see right through all the layers to the, to the center. So it's like, it appears to be complex, but in reality, it's not. You can see right through it. It's like, and the whole movie is kind of set up upon that basis of like, he goes to this island and then there's all this stuff, and then, you're getting thrown all these details thrown at you. And then even, when he's having the discussion with the guy, he's literally sitting in a building called a Glass Onion. And, he makes reference to how this guy, he solves his mystery instantly because his mystery is not complex. This like fake mystery that he creates. And he's like, yeah, it was really straightforward. It's like, and he explains it on the same concept. They're like, oh, there's a lot of distractions here, but like, realistically, it was very simple. And that's just how the movie just sort of runs with that. And then there ends up being an actual mystery to solve. But instead of like spending a lot of time solving the mystery, we go back to this flashback where we learn that the girl that was there the whole time, or one of the guests, was supposed to be dead and wasn't, because, well, she was, but her twin sister decided to take her role and pretend to be her, and then goes to the island pretending to be her the whole time, and then collecting all of this information, blah, 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 blah. And then it's like, oh, well, there's this whole, added plot line that one of the people in the house must know that, must be surprised by the fact that she's not dead, because they would have had to be the ones to kill her. And that's sort of the mystery, and it's interesting because it ends up being the most obvious solution. And, Daniel Craig's character even explains it in the end. He's like, you used my idea. It's like, this is just the dumbest, mystery of all time. Like, this is so stupid. It's like anybody could have seen through this. And it's true. There's a lot of, like, just red herrings and just information thrown at you, but you could just ignore it. And the answer is really obvious. And so it's, like, weird to me because, like, even watching this movie, it's like the most obvious connection that I made personally is like, okay, that guy is the head of the thing, is the most obvious character. But, like, when they introduced that, like, the girl was alive, or was dead, and her twin sister was going there, I was like, I was thinking back, and I remember when she arrives on the beach, the guy is the most surprised to see her. He's like shocked that she's there. And it's like, that's too obvious, right? I thought to myself, like, that's too obvious. But it's like, maybe it just is the most obvious solution. And it turns out that it is. It is the most obvious solution. So it's like, is this really clever or not? I can't, like, I don't know. I don't know what to think, I'm like, it's kind of like fun to think about the concept and like the build up and like what he was trying to do here. And like, he did achieve that. But it's like, in terms of a mystery, it's a really bad mystery, I don't know. I'm confused, but I did like it. I liked the movie. I liked the characters. I liked following it. I liked the story. And I like Daniel Craig. I think this is a great role for him. So it was an enjoyable watch. So I guess that's all that really matters. But it was just kind of, I don't know, just the mystery itself was just so weird to me. Just a weird idea for a mystery. That's Glass Onion, Knives Out. I think that's a good movie to watch. And I think that brings us sort of to the end of the video right now. We kind of went through this stuff really fast, actually. Because the first one I did, I made like an hour and a half long video. This is, well, like 40 minutes. We went through it quick. I think it's just because, you know, it's been a while. I don't have a lot of the details super fresh in my mind to really dive deep into. But, you know, I've got other stuff that I've been watching for a little while now that I could talk about soon. I'm gonna wait until I have 4 things all loaded together, and then I'll do another episode. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this one. That's for 2 movies, 2 shows, and I can just sort of, you know, get that crossed off my list. I did it. I recorded the thing that I've been meaning to do for weeks. If you liked this video, like, you know, please leave a like, subscribe, you know, leave a comment. Like, let me know if you liked it. If you didn't, you can also say that as well. You could be like, I hated this. Or you could, you know, leave like a suggestion and be like, well, it would be better if you did it this way, or, you know, did something else. By the way, my webcam, I know it's like not a good camera. I am aware of that. So I have been planning or thinking about getting like an actual camera for a while. So I might go ahead and do that, but I think the biggest thing kind of holding me back is how, you know, a lot of the videos that I do with my face in them are not, you know, usually like the most biggest things that I do. I'm like, if the webcam videos don't do that well, then like what's the point of investing in a camera? But then I think to myself, well, maybe if I had a camera, like I could make a better quality, higher quality video, you know, that's sort of the crux of the issue. It's a bit of a catch-22, you know. But you know, I've been thinking about it. It's been on my wish list for a while, and I might go out and try to save up some money and go get a camera. Although I don't know anything about cameras, is part of the problem. Really don't know anything about them. I don't know if I can just plug in a camera and use it like kind of as a webcam. I don't know. So you know, I'll figure it out eventually, but I don't know if I'll be doing that anytime soon. I just wanted to mention that it is on the docket, and if people like these videos more, then it might be more likely for me to try to do something like that. Otherwise, might just stick with what I'm doing right now. But yeah, there you go. Avatar, that's Avatar, Glass Onion, Chainsaw Man, and Bleach. Bleach was my favorite thing that I watched out of these. Second up, probably Chainsaw Man, followed by Glass Onion, and then Avatar. Avatar's at the bottom. I didn't hate Avatar, but I don't know. It was okay. It wasn't crazy about it, but I did like the experience of watching Glass Onion a lot. Like, I had a great time watching it. I had a good time watching Avatar too. It's just, it was a little too long, and you know, its characters are not as deeply compelling. Like, Glass Onion had some really good characters, some great characters even. I'll say it. It had Kate Hudson in it, and Dave Bautista, and Edward Norton. Yeah. Anyways, that'll be it. Also, you know, cover if Chainsaw Man gets like a second season, Bleach gets a new season, you know, I will be sure to return to those. And anything else that I've been following, I will probably also talk about. But that's it. I'm just gonna end the recording here. It's out of the way. I've done it. I don't have to like worry about it now. The longer it gets away, the more I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know if I could do it anymore. Okay. Goodbye.